Harrower Dervla, the pledged night fight strategy. Begin the fight with a block, since she will start the fight immediately by deploying a ranged attack from her crossbow. She wields a sword and a crossbow and will be able to hold both weapons and rely on both during the fight. In this boss encounter, you can only use the pillars for cover initially. But Harrower Dervla will easily be able to knock them down when she approaches with her sword. With her sword at hand, she will hold an on-guard stance and make a slow approach. She will begin swinging and striking. She has a basic set of melee swords. If you have a shield, you can use it to block her incoming attacks. Her heavier attacks will be able to knock you down. Once she switches to her crossbow, a charging animation will show her hoisting her crossbow in the air. This is the perfect window to charge in and attack. With her crossbow, she will be able to quickly move swiftly around the area while shooting. At about halfway through the fight, projectiles will also periodically begin shooting from the altar where the shackled girl is. Throughout the fight, if you continue to circle behind her back, you should be able to evade a number of her attacks and deal a few attacks of your own. While she aims her crossbow, she will usually hold her stance for a while, giving you additional chances to charge in. If she switches back and begins to swing, roll backwards and distance yourself before running back in to attack. Once you clear her health bar, prepare for the second phase of the fight against the Unbroken Promise. The Unbroken Promise. The Unbroken Promise uses the same body as Dervla, so she wields the same sword with some enhanced attacks that add range and size. Sword strikes now produce slash projectiles, and a sword strike on the ground will emit a shockwave of energy that can be blocked, but will cause wither. The Unbroken Promise will have a larger reach, but can be treated similarly to how Dervla was dealt with until the second phase. Phase 2. When approaching half health, the Unbroken Promise will have two bolts hovering over her attached to her chains and shackles. These have their own set of attacks that can hover separately and strike down. These bolts will have homing abilities that will trail you and strike for a brief period. They also have another attack where they continuously strike down while trailing the player. You will need to continuously run until they reattach themselves. A majority of the other attacks are directional ranged attacks, also relying on the hovering bolts. They are usually linear, and you will be able to track the path or anticipate the direction if you are spaced enough from the Unbroken Promise. Players will need to be conservative with their stamina since these are quick projectiles. You will need dodge to either side of these attack paths to avoid taking damage. Backing up will not take you out of the path of damage since they have a long range. It will be difficult to approach the Unbroken Promise during this phase, but there will be openings in between attacks, or even during some attacks if you manage to avoid the path of her ranged attacks. She will not deploy another attack as one is being played out. So while a ranged or projectile attack is being dealt, you try to circle behind her to begin your attacks. Keep rotating around the Unbroken Promises to decrease the chances of getting caught in the paths of her linear ranged attacks. You can then adjust your proximity as you roll out of the way for more immediate attacks. This fight is more easily completed with a companion to direct the Unbroken Promise so that one can focus on flanking her while she continues to fire her projectiles and ranged slash attacks.